Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to the Tour du Alps. Tonight we've got stage 3, Vetros to Drone, a distance of 22 kilometers with about almost 1300 meters of elevation. Now this is the fourth running today of this event. We had one at midnight, then one at 6 o'clock this morning. One at 12 o'clock UK time, and then obviously this is the fourth running. Now the current leader on the board is John Beams again, and he did a very decent time of 59 minutes, so we'll wait and see what happens this evening. But you're now looking at the series standing with Daniel Cadiz out front. He's got a healthy lead, but that can all change around in the coming days, because we have some monster stages coming up, especially tomorrow in the Queen's stage. And just thinking about tactics, has John Beams pulled a flyer? Because he went in the 6 o'clock showing this morning and set his fast time. Now I'd expect that time to be broken this evening, but the thing is, he's going to get more rest than any of the other riders if he decides to ride tomorrow's stage in the evening with the rest of the riders, and I think that will possibly be on his radar. And if that's the case, he really has pulled a very tactical flag, shall we say. But anyway, there you can see the profile. The ride tonight is split into two main climbs with a decent bit of downhill in the middle. And I think that's going to be key, because if you're a long way behind, by the time, here we go, let's just join the start, and then I'll pick up commentary about the climbs and everything else after we've watched it getting underway. I think there's going to be action immediately from the gun here, because the course lends itself to that. We've got a little bit of flat, slightly uphill slope to start with, but then it quickly kicks into the red. And I think we're going to find that the stronger riders are going to want to thin down this group. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't expect there to be too much change until we do start to get into, maybe you can see down on screen the profile, and I think the third section of red will really be where the action starts to kick off. I don't think we'll see too many splits in these first two sections. But you can see already Hedy Dam, who's one of the leaders of the tour. Daniel's leading it, Daniel Cadiz is leading it, but Hedy Dam is currently in second place. He's going to be a man to watch tonight. He's going to want to get revenge on Daniel Cadiz, but I don't think there's going to be too much between all the main contenders tonight on this first climb. I think it's going to kick off really on the second climb, but let's see what happens. I don't know very much about Vitorino, who's pushing off the front. I'll have a look and see if I can find his details, but I don't expect it to any rider to be allowed to break away at this point. I think they'll stay together for a little while. No, I can't even find him on the list. So, and riders that are not in contention, they may even decide to let go. I don't think they will, but they could well do so. because you can see behind this leader you've got Hedidam, Cadiz and Krajewski, and they're the 1, 2, 3 on general classification. So they're going to want to stay together and watch each other. Like I say, at least until we get into this, you can clearly see on the bottom of the profile the longer red section, and I think that's where, if there's going to be an attack, that's where it's going to happen. And Vitorino's putting in some decent wattage here. £400, and we're just starting the steeper part of this climb. You can see Krajewski not far behind him with Cadiz on his wheel, Hedidam. So like I say, I'd expect this, and in fact Stevens with them as well, and Rusinek, Lee Marshall. So I don't expect, there goes Cadiz, stretching his legs a little. Now Hedidam has gone off the front, and that's why you saw Cadiz getting out of the saddle. He's not, there's no way he's going to let Hedidam go like he did the other night. I mean, I'm pretty sure Daniel had it all in control. There he is on screen. Look, you can see age 45, he's 80 kilogram, and you might wonder how he climbs so well. But this guy, and some of you are going to be hearing this for the first time, this guy is a national time trial rider for Chile way back in 2014 when he earned a bronze medal in the national championships. And then 2 years later he went one better and got the silver medal. So he's an ex-pro rider, and if you go to RGTDB and have a look at his profile, he's got more first place wins than any other rider that I've seen on RGTDB. I mean, he's closely followed by some other good riders, but by far and away he's got the best profile. And it's not surprising given his pedigree and where he's come from, because what's really nice to see on RGTDB website is if you do look him up, you can see his past results in real life, and it's quite a palmares, folks. So for those thinking, well, yeah, he creams the field, I mean, he's getting on now at 45, but he's still up there. And to be fair, I think today is going to suit Cadiz. I think he'll just monitor things on this first climb, and then by the time we've sort of like done the downhill section and we get onto the second section of climbs, I think that's when he's going to shine. I don't think he'll go too early, but he's not going to let anybody jump off the front, I wouldn't have thought. He's going to keep a close rein on this, and certainly he'll be watching his nearest competitor, Hedidam. He's currently got 3 minutes on him in the general classification, so he's not going to allow Hedidam to pull back any of that if he can avoid it. And talking about Hedidam, I did Hedidam a disservice the other day. I questioned whether he was correctly set up, but having now looked at his profile and having looked at his palmares, this guy he's been around in his home country of Denmark for quite a while and has got a good palmares too. He's a well-known rider, and he's a very strong rider. Jonas van der Wiel putting out over 400 watts and a relatively low heart rate. So he's obviously timing his effort well here. And I think that will be the case with a lot of the riders. They're not going to be killing themselves on this first section. But this is the longer uphill that I told you about, where if anybody is going to try and make an early break, this is where it's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Van der Wiel is just, I think he's just finding his own pace. His heart rate suggested that he isn't yet pushing. I can't see him going into, well, just as I say that, he's just gone into the red. But I can't really see any rider wanting to work too much above threshold at the moment. And it's commentator's curse, because just as I say that, you can see Hedidam, Cadiz and Van der Wiel all decide to have a bit of a dig. And look at this, but Cadiz is, yeah, he's just going to time his effort. He'll pull them back. He's not in the red at the moment, whereas Hedidam in front of him is. So I think Daniel, he's not going to panic. He didn't panic yesterday on the stage when he gave Hedidam a really good, Casper Hedidam a really good lead, and he didn't panic. He pulled him back, and then when he did decide to go off the front, nobody could catch him. Now, another rider to mention here is Krajewski. Has also got a very good Palmares, and he's a class rider. Hence his third place in general classification. And it will be interesting to see whether he can stay within touch of the leaders. He's currently dropping 75 metres on the man out front, who we're seeing now on screen, Van der Wiel. So it'll be interesting to see whether the riders try to ride at their own pace or whether they do try to close up the gaps. And Wouter's just saying, go Jonathan. Now Wouter, we'll mention Wouter later. When I looked into the profiles of riders, Wouter Klaas, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and forgive me if I'm not. I'm a Yorkshireman and I can't get it as good as Chris O'Hearn did last night. I mean, his pronunciation was fantastic. And I'm afraid I can't do that, but I'll do my best. But yeah, Wouter is also very much a class act. And when I looked at his profile, I was quite surprised actually that he's out of the podium spot at the moment, but he looks to have the second highest wins on the RGTDB database that I could find anyway. If you go to his profile, you can see an awful lot of number ones. So he obviously knows his stuff. Rusinek is another good rider out of Canada. Now, his name in the profile is Jojo, but if anybody's listening, can they tell me whether this is Jacques Rusinek or whether that's a different rider? Because while doing some searching on data for these riders, I found a Jacques Rusinek from Canada, and he's been an amazing rider. So I wonder if it's the same person or whether Jojo is another rider entirely. If anybody could let me know in the comments. John Stevens, well, he's a class act from UK. And I think it would be fair to say that John is an out-and-out climber. 67 kilos, so he's about the right weight for a good climber. With a height of 176 meters anyway. And he's somebody to be reckoned with in the general classification, that's for sure. Keith, one of my teammates from OTR, and there we go, from Barcelona, Spain. I didn't realise he was living out in Spain. Keith's one of the best vets on the platform. A little bit younger than me. and a little bit heavier than me, but as I say, one of the top veterans on the platform. Go, Jonathan, good job so far. Nice. Live from the hill, I'm in pain already. Paul Nichols. Yeah, Paul Nichols, my teammate and fellow OTR rider. Obviously he's riding tonight, but he's the guy you've got to thank for these courses in this tour. He's done a fantastic job. I've mentioned this in my own broadcasts. The magic roads are absolutely stunning, Paul. I take my hat off to you, mate, because they're smooth as anything, the scenery is beautiful, and you've smoothed out the bends and corners absolutely fantastically. I've never seen a glitch, and I've been able to run this in high ultra on my system, and I've never seen a single glitch in any of your roads in this tour so far. So, yeah, well done, sir. Thank you, Nick. I hope you're enjoying your ride this time, Nick. Nick Giles, for those that don't know, I've mentioned it in my own commentary, but Nick Giles is an ex-UK national champion, and he sent me over his Palmares the other night, and to say I was gobsmacked is an understatement. And Nick is going to feature in a documentary I'm going to put together on RGT and on some of the riders. I want to document basically some of the better riders on RGT and how they cope with the sort of going from real life riding to the e-riding, the e-sports riding. Because it's a difficult transition for some and easier for others. I mean, Daniel Cadiz is making it look easy. Nick is struggling. I think he won't mind me saying so. He's struggling on the platform to find his true form, but he has had a very, very busy season, and he's had a lot of wins this season in real life. So I imagine he's pretty tired. More about that later. Now, I don't know this rider from Germany, Chris Ra. Yeah, he's keeping a steady pace here. What are we on? We're on the downslope, so yeah, you'd expect his wattage to be a little bit lower, but he'll be pacing himself. Now, where are these? I don't recognise the flag. I should do. I've seen it lots of times, but I can't remember what this flag is. Okay, perhaps somebody can let me know. But nice to see them staying together and riding together. And there we've got the Scott Herrera. And is it Jonty Sweeney or John Sweeney? No, it's Jonty Williamson. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Let's see if we can find. I do have a list of riders, not all of them obviously, but I do have a list of riders up on screen, so I can hopefully sometimes get the first names correct. Van der Wiel, as you can see from the graphic on screen, is still out front, and when we return there, it's Barbara Herrera. Okay, and putting out good wattage. Look at that. No heart rate monitor. That would be a nice addition, please, for future races. Portugal, that's it, Chris. Thank you. I knew I recognised it, but I just couldn't get my brain to find it. Thank you. Yeah, of course, Portugal. And as I say, I should know because I used to follow Ronaldo from Portugal quite a lot. Okay, so Paul Ingram from out of England. This is steady effort from Paul. If you look at his wattage, it's, oh, and Isafor, the behind him, Fran Hayes. Again, they'll be finding just a nice steady pace on this section of the ride. I mentioned Isafor because he was the first winner of the spot prize on day one. There he is, and he took the Torm Cycle Clothing spot prize. Don't know what it is. I'm hoping he will let us know in a future post on social media. But yes, he was day one's winner. And this is our leader. So we're back with the leader, and you can see on the road behind him, I can't even see oh, I can now just see another rider coming in to the distance. So he's already pulled out. This is Jonathan van der Wiel. He's already pulled out a really good gap here. But I can't see Jonathan in the results from the previous tours. So unless he went in different time slot to the ones I'm looking in, I can't really go and be pulling them all up. So I don't know where Jonathan is standing in the overall, or whether he's just choosing the events he's going to ride. But this will really shake up the general classification if he does manage to stay ahead. But there's a long way to go. Yeah, he's certainly, look at that, 450 watts. So over 400 watts he's putting out. Mid in cadence, I'd call it, at 50, so 50 plus. Yeah, this is a strong effort by van der Wiel, very strong effort. And you know, if he gets to the top of this first climb, whatever gap he manages to pull out will grow exponentially as he gets onto the downhill, because the riders behind him have still got to finish the section of the climb that he will have got over, and so the gap will grow very, very quickly. And I suspect if he gets a decent enough gap, he could well stay away. I'll have to keep an eye on this. Hopefully we'll get the overall graphic that will show us where the other riders are in relation to him. There we go, we've got it up on screen. Well done, we've got it up on screen now. So Daniel is 200 meters behind and has to watch that, because like I say, if van der Wiel gets to the top of you can just see he's coming to the top of this section, but then you've got the green where it sort of plateaus out for a little bit. Then you've got that next red section, and if he gets to the top of that and over the top with, shall we say, a 300 or 400 meter gap onto that downhill, he could well pull away. So this has got to be pulled back, or at least held in check. I don't think the riders behind can allow this to go out to over 300 meters. I just think that would be a little bit too much. But we know Daniel he won't panic. He'll be riding to a plan. He'll be measuring his effort, and he'll know what he can achieve. He'll know how much he can afford to, because he'll be seeing on his own feed exactly how far in front van der Wiel is. Krajewski is still maintaining his third place behind, but he's a good way behind Daniel, so it'll be interesting to see whether Krajewski can pull something back. I can't even attempt to pronounce Krajewski's first name, so I'm going to call him Andre. Christopher got it right last night, but I'm sorry, I can't pronounce these Polish names. Timo, who's riding tonight as well. Keep going, John Stevens. Moonriders for the win. I don't think Moon Riders are going to be winning this evening, Timo. But we shall see. No doubt we'll catch up with you on the road a bit later in the feed. Yeah, now then, what's you see what I was saying about the gap? Look what's happened to the gap going out exponentially as Van der Wiel hit the flat. Now, Daniel Cadiz will pull it back because he's also on the flat. Or when I say flat, we're talking like slightly uphill, slightly downhill. So I don't expect the gap to grow here. I expect it to be pegged more or less at the state it is now, although Jonathan is putting in a superb effort here to try and grow the gap. So this is a really interesting battle. Yeah, there we go. Another message from Nick Giles, who's decided to back off and recoup. Yeah, and he agrees with my assessment that he's had such a hard season. You know, you can't burn the candle at both ends, Nick, and you know that better than me. I mean, I've never been at your level, but I have been a good rider in my time and trained other riders, and I do know it's important to take recovery after a hard season. This is a really good effort, but look how Daniel has pulled him back. Look. Can't afford to let this grow as we come, and they're approaching for me, the really important part of this first climb is this next section, this next red section, because if Van der Wiel can grow this gap a little more, then he's going to pull away. So here he is on the climb. Now, the gap should come down as Daniel has not reached this steep section yet. So it should come slightly down. And look at the wattage the both guys are putting in to try. You know, 5 watt-kilos from them both. Just trying to hang on and just trying to stay within reach, and this is where Daniel is going to pull back the gap, because obviously he's on the easier section, whereas Jonathan is on the and he's pulled it back, look, to 200 and odd meters because he's managed to make up that gap. But now he has to start climbing, and what's going to be interesting is to see whether Daniel can peg the gap now, which will show that they're climbing at about the same pace, or whether the gap grows. And if the gap starts to go out, then we know that Jonathan is stronger than Daniel at this point in the race. But to be honest, it's coming down, and I don't think Van der Wiel is going to stay away. My pick for the win is Daniel again. I picked him yesterday, and I'm going to pick him today. I'd like to be proven wrong just to add a bit more excitement. And sorry for saying that, Daniel. It's no reflection on you, sir. It's just it would add to the drama of the whole competition if somebody else could take the win. But I don't think they will. I think you've got this today, because I think you're measuring your effort. That's a nice overhead camera view. So we could see there that Ruzinek is about 700 meters, 800 meters off the lead, with 3 riders in front of him. Krajewski's about 700 meters off the lead. So yeah, but we're on the downhill section now, and to be fair, I don't think we can really read too much into the gaps at this stage. I think the time to start analysing the gaps is when we get to the main section of the climb, the next climb, which is that middle red section you see on screen. And that's really, I think, where we're going to see the meat and bones of the action tonight. They're not going to leave it till the last climb. They're going to try and sort out positionings before then. Yeah, I get what you're saying, James, that Van der Wiel is looking for the stage because he's not on GC. I understand that, but I'll be honest, I think Daniel is too proud. I think I agree with you that he won't be too worried because he knows what he can do. But I genuinely believe that Daniel is too proud to just let him go. I don't think that will happen. We'll have to wait and see, but that's my take. I just cannot see Daniel Cadiz letting him go. Maybe. I mean, the gap's now gone out. Yeah, so maybe he has decided to ease off and let him go. And maybe he's watching the feed as we are and has just heard our comments and just seen that Jonathan out front is not on GC, so he doesn't have to worry. Although I'm pretty sure he probably also knew in advance anyway. Lee Marshall, the Englishman. Nice high cadence look. And I say that and it starts to freewheel. There we go. Chased by John Stevens. We've already had a look at Ra. And there's the overhead shot of Jonathan Van der Wiel out the front. Now 9.3 kilometers. I think that's unless I'm wrong, let me just, yeah, that's 9.3 kilometers to the finish. So what we've done, we're looking at other riders now. 22 kilometers, so he's past the halfway point by a little distance. But the hardest, I mean, look at the gradient here, and the hardest section is still to come. We've got some horrible kickers on this next section, and this is just one of them. And as it got steeper, Daniel has managed to pull back. I mean, he was a long way behind, and look at the way he's pulled it back. Like I say, I genuinely believe that he just doesn't panic. He knows what he's capable of. And I'm sorry to hammer that home, folks, but it bears repeating. He's a class act, and for those that didn't catch my commentary earlier, he's an ex-pro, an ex-time trial champion. So yeah, he's come from in real life to e-racing and brought his skills and strength with him. And not every rider can do that. There's a lot of good in real life riders who have tried the hand at e-racing, and they just didn't get to grips with it. And I'll tell you a funny story, because I've come over from Swift, and I was one of the early adopters of Swift, and we helped grow the platform for Team 3R. And I remember Swift running that competition where they had the pros taking part, and they had Team Sky, as they then were, up against the best riders on RGT at the time, and the best riders in RGT came out on top. So what does that tell you? John, by the way, the RGT guru, and Jesper, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name. So these are riders further down the field, and these riders will all be doing their own personal battles. They'll be looking for riders in front of them, they'll be keeping an eye on the riders behind, and they'll just be trying to maintain the positions or maybe slowly claw their way up the field. We just saw a rider disappearing there from view. So Stefan Schumann. And Panay from France. So as I say, these riders, especially when you get a small group like this, look, you've got 5 riders in a line here, and 6 riders now coming in. So what will happen here is these riders will be using each other and seeing who's the strongest, and basically they'll be fighting for positions here, as you can see on the road. They know they're not going to get back to the front, so now it's all about, okay, where can I finish? And a lot of it's about personal pride as well, you know, putting in a really good effort that you can be happy with. Lee Orbia. Now, is Orbia his name, or is it Orbia his moniker? High heart rate, so this lad's working hard. 181. I always like to see riders using a heart rate monitor, and as I say that, we get Dermot Doyle not using a heart rate monitor, which is not an issue. It's not a problem, especially if you're lower down the field. But it is nice because it gives us commentators a clue as to, you know, how hard the rider's working. It doesn't tell the full story, because you can have some riders showing extremely low heart rates, which is the mistake I made the other day. But they could be, you know, like Cadiz, semi-pros and really so fit that the heart rate, you know, is probably in the 150s, 160s, the maximum. Without knowing the full weight, height and details of the riders, it is difficult when watching on screen to try and calculate just how hard they are working sometimes. And a lot's down to the rider's weight as well on the climbs. I mean, the heavier riders are going to suffer, whatever way you look at it. But even the pure climbers, I mean, Keith Atkinson from OTR described the first climb on day 1 as pure hell, and he's a recognised out-and-out climber. So for an out-and-out climber to call a climb pure hell, you know, what must it have been like for riders, shall we say, the heavier riders, the bigger riders? Chris Shackleton, he's a rider I've followed quite a few times in my commentary. I think this is Stephen Hall. Yep, got it right, Stephen Hall. So yeah, I followed Stephen a few times as well. And he's working hard. This is, I think, don't know his first name, but Garby. Yeah, I tried to look him up and couldn't find his first name. Now this is the first and only Team 3R rider I've seen in this tour, which rather surprises me, because Team 3R are my old team, which I bought across from Swift, and we recruited riders here on the RGT platform. They've got some cracking riders like Tim Cook, Rob Stone, to name just a few. there's Lee as well. I mean, I'm just really surprised not to see more. Here we've got Paul Nichols again. He's a good lad. I've only just joined OTR after James asked me to. He'd been chasing me for a little while, and James asked me to join. And I was a bit hesitant at leaving Team 3R because I've been with them for such a long time. Well, since the beginning, really. Before they were even known as Team 3R. And I was a bit hesitant to leave, but since I joined OTR, I have to say, between James and Paul, I think I've made the right decision, because they've made me so welcome and been so really, really helpful in getting me set up. I've really, really enjoyed my time here now with OTR, and we've got some exciting stuff planned, which I'm not going to mention here because obviously we're on the ZMS stream and my job is to commentate on this tour. But we have got some good stuff coming up in the future. Now, I've always wondered what Fernando Moura, it says G in brackets and then 70. Now, is that the age? Is that G group? And is he 70 years old? Because if that's the case, this is amazing. I mean, he's well up in the pack. And if this Fernando is 70 years old, I mean, perhaps somebody can tell me in the comments, or does it mean something else? Because I have followed him in some of my own events, and I've been amazed. Now this small group is, remember earlier, Sean Graham? Remember earlier, folks, that I said that what will be happening here is these riders are simply looking for, best position on the stage. And so they'll be using each other to sort of like pace off. And is this Chris Byam? Clive Byam, sorry. Yeah, and Clive, look, putting in a big dig here, 400 watts. Just went over that small bum. Well done, sir. I should have known your name. Sorry, Clive. G is 70 age group. So Nick's just confirmed yes. So Fernando, I mean, what an amazing, look at him duking it out with these youngsters. What an amazing rider. I hope I'm doing that when I'm 70. I really do. But something which I mentioned when I did my news section earlier on this afternoon, and I was discussing the age category tables and how it was strange to see that it wasn't the youngest, the A1 riders, that were leading the tour. It's the riders, the older riders, that are leading the tour. And I explained that, not only with age does experience come, but with age comes endurance. And certainly that's been the case for me. I mean, at one point my endurance was off the scale when I was doing ultra cycling. And like I was going out for 48-hour training rides. But so the older you get, the better your endurance becomes. If you keep up with it, you have to obviously keep up with it. I mean, mine's gone now because of recent illnesses, but I don't think it ever really leaves you. I think if I got back into training, I could recover some of it. So Van der Wiel with 5.4 kilometers is still out front. I'm hoping we can cut to them shortly. Here we go. As I say that, the magic happens, and there's Van der Wiel. Now, where is the rest of the field, and how far has he got? Is he going to get the stage win? 186 meters. What do you think, folks? Do you think Jonathan Van der Wiel is going to take the win? I still say no. I still think, Although looking at that gap, look, a full hairpin behind and then some. So is Daniel going to catch him, or is he not going to even try? Well, when I say try, obviously he's trying, but is he just happy to let Jonathan have the win? I mean, I think Daniel will be happy with his place on the road at the moment, because he's got a good enough gap in front of Andrzej Kwiatkowski to maintain that. I don't think. Look at Keith go though. Keith up into 4th place. That's an amazing ride. Yeah, well done, Keith. Rusinek in 5th. In fact, all the main contenders. If you look at the top 10, there's a couple of new names in there. Like I don't know this Vittorino or Cabra Manca. And the Ra, I don't know Ra at all. But the top 7, are all more or less the top 7 on, well, they're in the top 10 on general classification. So the cream is rising to the top. And the big question is, with 5 kilometers to go, in fact, let's do the sums here. 4.5 kilometers to go, or is it? Yeah, 4.5 kilometers to go. Although it's saying 4.9 on screen for Van der Wiel. So, and what kind of speeds are they doing? Yeah, okay, we're 43 minutes now. The winning time by John Beams was 59, 59 and high 30s. So 59. That's more than enough time. That's going to get smashed. So the previous fast time is going to get absolutely smashed today by this ride. Whoever takes the win is going to finish at least 5 minutes in front of John Beams. I think I can safely predict that. That's if the no, maybe not, because maybe the graphic up top is it's difficult to tell. It's showing yeah, 4.5. So let's calculate then. If he's doing 20 kilometers an hour, so that's going to be roughly 3 minutes per kilometer. Oh, it's going to be tight. 12 minutes. It's going to be tight. That's going to take it to 56. So it's not going to be 5 minutes, folks. It's going to be closer than that. But it is. Jonathan Van der Wiel is on for about a 56-minute ride if he maintains this pace. And don't forget, we've got the terrain eases as well, so he is going to speed up slightly. But I've calculated it from the 4 kilometers, whereas it's just above. So about a 56-minute ride, I think, is possibly going to win today. Let's see what happened to the action. And I think Andre here is just he's just pacing himself. He's putting out 5 watt kilos, but he's pacing himself. I think he knows that he's not going to catch Daniel out front, and his main goal here will be to stay away from Keith behind. And Keith is doing an excellent ride. He really is. So it'll be interesting to see, will Daniel wait until the last couple of kilometers and then push, or will he simply let Jonathan Van der Wiel go? I've already stated that I don't think he'll let him go. I think Daniel is too proud to let him win. But we shall see. One of the things we haven't been able to, and it's understandable because obviously we want to keep close to the action at the front. But one of the things which I would have liked to have seen more of is how the ladies are doing, but it can often be difficult to find them on the road and then commentate on them because we don't know who all the ladies are. I certainly can't tell from the names. I don't know a lot of the ladies. I know some of the top contenders, but I certainly don't know a lot of the ladies, to my dismay. I'm getting there. I'm learning. Yeah, Cadiz is coming back. I agree with you, Christopher. I genuinely do not think he's going to let him go. But we shall see. We shall see. It'll be interesting because there's this final section of red. Just you can see it on the graphic, and once over that, it's relatively plain sailing. You've got a small bump just before the finish, but it's relatively plain sailing once you're over this next big section of climbing. Not this section is on now. I mean, this is steep enough, 16%. But once they get to that, you can see the longer red section. I think if Daniel is going to try and close, that's where he's going to have to do it. Now, don't forget, folks, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll repeat for those that are joining the broadcast late. Daniel Cadiz, if you go to his RGTDB profile like I have done, and I've also gone on the internet to check this guy out, because I just thought, wow, he's winning everything. How is he winning everything? Well, how is because he's a national time trial champion and an ex-pro rider who's managed to stay with his cycling and he has the biggest win category on RGTDB. No other rider has got the number of wins that this fellow has, which is why I don't think he's going to let Jonathan van der Wiel go. We shall see. It's going to get exciting, that's for sure. And I think we've got about 6 minutes left. Just short of 6 minutes left of action. This is for the front of the race. Excuse me, I better take a drink. I'm getting dehydrated. Now then, the other thing to mention is I've already told Damon from ZMS that I want to stick around commentating on every rider in this race coming home, and that's what we're going to do. We've both decided that's what we're going to do, so we're going to stay with every rider and watch every rider finishing. So if you are watching the broadcast, you know, I'd ask you to stick with us, because the riders at the back of the field deserve just as much coverage as the riders at the front, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring them all home. It's something that excuse me. It's something that I like to do on my own streams, and it's something which I will do on the ZMS commentary I'm doing as well. So this is where I expect, if Daniel is going to, he's just starting this final climb now. If Daniel is going to go for the win, this is where he's going to do it. So let's see what happens to his figures. He's putting out over 5 watt kilos. He's going into the red. Yeah, I think he's going for the win. I really do. I think he's going for the win. Look, he's look at his watt kilos. He's working harder. He's pushing. He's going into the red. So Jonathan is going to have to really work hard here to keep him at bay. And to be fair, he's doing so. But has he got enough? And I wonder if any of these guys are actually listening to us as we as we commentate on them. That would be interesting. I mean, this is where the battle is, folks. 10%. And we've got a close race to the finish, and this is exciting. I really enjoy commentating on races like this. Sometimes it can be like in yesterday's race. I knew as soon as Daniel kicked on that final climb, and he was about, I think he was about 2/3 of the way up the final climb, and he kicked and got a small gap, and then the gap grew and the gap grew, and I stated in commentary, he's gone, nobody's going to catch him. And so Daniel had won the stage long before the end, whereas this stage, this is going to go down to the wire, because they've still got, what, 2 kilometers to go, and either one of them could win it. It's not over. I mean, the gradient gets steeper. Thank you, Nick. Should be. I wish they'd invite me. I'll be honest, I am looking for sponsorship, because I do want to grow my own streaming, and the only way I can do that is if I get a bit of support. I was talking with Daniel earlier tonight, not Daniel, Damon from ZMS, and Damon said, you know, if I'm really serious, I need to be getting the pro level software for streaming, and I just simply cannot afford it. But if I grow my channel and I get a bit of exposure, maybe I can. But yeah, this is look, the gradient is getting steeper, but the gap is being maintained. I mean, I'm gobsmacked by Jonathan. This is a fantastic ride, I have to say. I didn't think he could hold, and don't get me wrong, folks, don't anybody say that Daniel is easing off, because he's not. We've clearly seen him pushing, we've clearly seen him going into the red. So Daniel is not letting Jonathan have this. Jonathan is winning this fair and square. He's the stronger rider at the moment. We've got 1.5 kilometers to go. Daniel can still pull it back, but it's not being given. I mean, what we got? We got a 40-second gap at the moment. I mean, I'm just so impressed with this ride. I really am. Well, from both riders. I mean, there we go. Daniel going into the red again, trying desperately to pull it back. And there you saw Jonathan going into the red, pushing on. Because Jonathan will be watching on screen as we are doing here. He'll be watching what Daniel is doing. And every time Daniel goes red, he'll try to match him. He'll just try and maintain that gap. And I think he's got it, you know. He's almost over the climb now. This is the last steep section. You can see the 1 kilometer to go banner. I think he's got this. He's got 300 meters as we approach the 1 kilometer to go banner. So Jonathan van der Wiel is going to take the win. What a fantastic ride. Absolutely brilliant. And you know, I'm happy he's proved me wrong. I backed Daniel Cadiz all the way, and I'm really happy he's proved me wrong, because this is going to, you know, somewhat open it up. All right, he's not on general classification, but it'll show other riders that Daniel can be beaten, and that's always a good thing. You know, when the tour leader is defeated on a stage that really he would have expected to win. I'm sure he came in tonight thinking, well, yeah, this is another one stage for me. So fabulous riding by Jonathan, and still able to put out high watts to finish it off. In fact, the gap has grown out because Daniel has probably correctly worked out that he's not going to close this gap. There we go. There's Daniel under the 1 kilometre to go. 500 metres behind now. So we're going to watch Jonathan coming into the finish. Nice fast finish. It rises slightly here. There's a little bit of a lump. What does it go up to? About 8%, I think. Yeah, 7.98, just over 8%. And then he's over the top of this bump here, and I think it's a slight rise, but it's nothing. We may well see some battles further down the field, you know, on this section. We did yesterday, and that was quite exciting. Who was the rider that was it Rusinek that absolutely stormed on the finish? Anyway, here we go. Well done, Jonathan. I'm going to clap. Fantastic ride. Fantastic ride. Okay. So second on the road we've got Daniel. So he's going to maintain his position at the top of the leaderboard. But as I say, this will give other riders heart. When you see the champion going down. But this fellow is a class act. You can't take it away from him. I mean, just look at the way he's handling this tour at the moment. He's miles in front of anybody else at the moment. Now this is what you need to watch, folks. 59, so let's call it 59 minutes. How much time is Daniel going to take out of Andre here? Let's just watch, because he's already gotten almost 3 minutes. So let's see how much time he can actually take. We've got 7. Yeah, it's going to be, I'd say it's going to be 2 minutes. Could be a bit less. I mean, the graphic on the right hand of the screen where it's showing Jonas with 58.13, I said it was going to be about a 56, so I was well wrong. I didn't realize it was so steep on that final section. But this is now a minute, so Kudjuski is now a minute behind Daniel. Yeah. And what we got here, he's got 240 to go, so it's going to be about a minute and a half, I think, give or take. We'll know in a moment. 150 meters to go. And he's not really pushing out the watts here, so mind you, he's probably tired. I certainly would be with this amount of climbing, but there we go. So yeah, well done, Andre. Third place, solid third place again. So John Beams didn't lose that much time. I mean, he posted a 59 and Jonas has posted a 58 and Daniel Cadiz is a 58.57. So there's less than a minute between Daniel and John Beams. So John Beams is going to climb the rankings tonight. Don't know exactly where he's going to finish because I haven't got those details in front of me. But he is going to close the gap on the leaderboard. And here's John Stevens. And this has been a fantastic ride. I mean, John is just, he's riding out of his skin tonight. Well done. Absolutely fantastic ride. And the next rider, I am so impressed with Keith tonight. What a great ride. And don't forget, Keith is probably you know, he won't mind me saying, he's one of the premier veterans on the platform. And look at him go. I mean, he's not going to catch John Stevens, but he's making it. He's making a fight of it. 200 meters, yeah. But there's only 600 meters to go, so John's got this. And I'm sure he was watching closely just how far behind Keith was, so it wouldn't have been in any danger of being caught. He'd have been keeping an eye on it, because that's what you do. You're constantly looking at your nearest challengers and working out, you know, can I hold them off? Do I need to push that little bit harder? You know, I think this has been one of the best races I've commentated on, seriously, and I've done some good ones. I mean, the Tour de Monde series was absolutely brilliant. You can find that on my channel if you want to go and watch them. But this has just been, yeah, okay, there hasn't been the out and out battles at the front like there was in the Tour de Monde, but it's just been, the performances have been fantastic. I've really been impressed. And Keith is still managing 5 watt kilo, just short of 5 watt kilos, as he comes up to this finishing section. After what, an hour's riding. Well done, sir. And look at Lee Marshall going into the red, and Rusinek. I love to see that. You know, when you're watching the end of a tour like this, and sorry, not a tour, the stage, and you see riders going into the red right at the death like this, and these two are going to duke it out. So this is what I mean about excitement. These two are now going to fight it out. Rusinek's got it. He's gone. Yeah. Poor old Lee didn't have enough to catch him. I think he did that the other night as well. I'm pretty sure he did. I could be mistaken, but I think Rusinek did that the other night. He came from behind 3 or 4 riders. This lad from Portugal, I'm going to have to check him out after we go offline, because I don't know anything about him at all, and that disturbs me. Or this fella. So definitely, I'm going to look these two up. I'll look at the profiles on RGTDB, because what I do is I tend to make notes after I've done a session like this, so that in my next streaming performances I can actually be knowledgeable on some of the riders. It's just, that's just a personal thing I like to do. The same as I've done tonight, looking at the profiles of the riders. I mean, and if you've got time to spare, I'd recommend doing that. Have a look at some of the profiles on RGTDB, because some of them are absolutely amazing. So well done, Cabra. Top 10. Got to be pleased with that. And who's going to come in 10th place? We've got Ra. Another rider, a German rider, but again, not familiar. So, Chris Ra. I'll look you up as well, sir. So that's his top 10, and I think that's been a pretty exciting race. Now, as I say, we are going to stick around. I'm going to watch all the riders coming home. It might get a bit quiet at times as I quieten down a little bit now that the action's finished, but be in no doubt that I do admire every rider that manages to finish a stage like this. And some of the riders way at the back, you know, they're gonna be what, a good 20 minutes off the leaders, if not more. So you have to take your hat off to them there. And this is again is what I like to see. I like to see riders at the death pushing for that extra place like Samet has just done. Well done, sir. Nice to see. 4.1 watt kilos. He's not going to catch this fella though. This fellow's going to finish in front of him. But he got 11th place. So Ra got 10th. I'm saying he got 10th. Oh yeah, he has 300 metres. He's not going to get caught now. But this last little kicker must hurt. This must put a bit of pain into the legs. You know, 8%, just a few hundred metres before the line. But Samet is flying. Just look at him go. Absolutely flying. I mean, if there was more oh, could he catch him? No, he's not going to catch him. You can see him in the distance. 140 metres to go and he's 90 metres behind. But he's flying. He's flying. He's not going to be that far behind by the time they get to the line. And Ra's realised that and put in a dig himself. And you know, this makes for really exciting racing, folks, lower down the field. I love to see it. Nice GBR jersey as well, Samet. So, really, really well done. It just adds to the excitement when you commentate and you think that, okay, we've watched the top 10 coming in, you know, that's the action over, but quite often it's not. You get these mini battles happening for the lower places, which is one of the reasons why I stick around as well, not just to say thank you to all the riders, but I stick around because of these mini battles that often go on, and they can add some excitement to the whole event. You don't have to be winning a race to show your talents, that's for sure. You know, I've only ever I've come first in many Sportives and set the best times in Sportives, but they were my thing way back when I was in my prime. But I've only ever won one race in my life, and that was at Manchester Velodrome. And this is a really interesting story, folks, which for those of you that are still hanging around, I'll tell. I turned up at Manchester Velodrome, and at the time I was riding pretty well in real life outside. All right, I was never a brilliant rider, but I was a good climber. And I turned up at Manchester Velodrome because somebody said, you know, I should give it a try. Never track raced before, and they put me in this scratch race, and I had to hire one of the Manchester Velodrome bikes, which, if any of you have ever seen them, the steel bikes, pretty hefty little things, and they look a mess. And I also had to hire a helmet, and back in those days there were these pudding helmets, white polystyrene covered in a yellow cloth, and it looked like a pudding basin on your head. And I looked a proper dork, and I sat there on the line not knowing, you know, what this track racing like was all about. And the gun went, and all I did was I just thought, okay, well, it's only however many laps it was. I think it was 12 laps. It's only 12 laps, scratch race. I'll just go as hard as I could. So I went as hard as I could, and all the riders behind me on the flash bikes and in all the flash kit just let me go. And I got half a lap, and they never saw me again. Basically, they never caught me. I eventually ended up getting almost a lap on them. I never got quite the lap, but I ended up getting almost a lap, and they never caught me. And that's the only race I've ever won in my life, out and out. But what it taught me was that you never ever underestimate a rider. It was a valuable lesson. I mean, yes, I was the beneficiary of that particular lesson, but it's an important lesson to learn. You never ever underestimate a rider, and that's what they did with me. As we watch Bancross coming in. Well done, sir. Hayes crossing the line. Oh no, sorry, under the banner. I apologise. That wasn't the line, that was the 1 kilometre to go. Now, is this another GBR? Yes, it is, another GBR jersey. Just coming up to the Flamme Rouge. So these riders are all riding for their own personal time, for their own best finishers. And there we get the wave, so he's probably listening to the broadcast. Unless, of course, he's just realised he's only got 1 kilometre to go and the hurting's going to stop soon. But don't tell him there's a steep 8%er coming up. Probably get a bit upset. I mean, that's a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? What is it? 200 metres from the line and you get an 8? Well, let's check it out here. Here we go. You hit the climb, 300 metres. It starts at 5 and then goes up to 8, almost 9%. Yeah. Oh, this is cruel. Not as cool as some of the earlier stages, 8.5% it goes up to. But not as cool as some of the earlier stages where, did you see right at the very depth? You know, I think one of them was 15%. It was. Yeah, there was it yesterday? They're all rolling into one in my fuddled brain. But yeah, like 400 metres from the line and you had a 15%. I mean, just absolutely insane. And I bet they were calling Paul Nichols all sorts of names. But a beautiful, I'll say again, Paul's my teammate, and complete admiration for what you've done here, sir. Fantastic courses. I mean, the roads are beautiful, they really are. Now here's the, as you can see, who's this coming in? Orbia coming in. You can see the standings on the road, and just look at those watt kilos at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, Jonas with a 480. But Daniel's gained some time on his competitors. But the person that's going to be climbing the overall is John Beams, and he's pulled a fast one. And this bears repeating. I mentioned it earlier, but John Beams has pulled a fast one on the field, I believe, and I think he's done it deliberately. He's joined the 0600 ride this morning, put in a fast time, 59 minutes. So put in a fast time, and now he can rest up. And if he goes tomorrow evening on the Queen stage, which is the hardest stage of the tour, he gets the most rest. He gets more rest than anybody else, as we see Wagstaff coming in. So John Beams gets more rest than any of the other riders, and I think that could well be telling, because you can't tell me after the racing we've had this last 3 days, the riders' legs aren't going to be tired. I mean, yeah, I know some of the stages for some of these riders are short in comparison to real life, but it's a lot harder riding indoors on a trainer than what it is riding outdoors. And there's John, by the way, that we just saw coming up to the finish, the RGT guru. Yeah, this is the last bit of the steep section. He's just getting over now, so nice ride into the finish for Wagstaff. Well done. another one home. So where are we now? We've got John. We've got John, by the way, in 19th place. So just made the top 20. Now I suspect John has his own streams usually. So I suspect that John will probably be streaming this himself on his own channel. So if you want to check out the feed from the middle of the field, take a look at his YouTube channel. Just type John, by the way, into Facebook or YouTube, and you'll find his feed. Last steep section, John. Keep it going. Yeah, 4.5 watt kilo, so he's not easing up. Now, I wonder how many more riders have we got? To 20 riders online. So obviously there'll be some that's already finished, but looking at this graphic with another 10, but I don't know whether there's anybody else after Andy. Oh, there is. Paul Nick. In fact, I suspect there might be quite a few, so it could be a while, folks. Oh, there we go. We got Doyle going past, gaining the space. Sorry, not a space, a place. So Doyle has just taken Broody on the line. There we go. And there's Broody coming in. Sorry, Brody coming in. This is a Welshman, I think. Well done. Just gone under the Flamme Rouge, so 900 meters to go, and there we get another look at the leaderboard. I'm just trying to see. It looks like the top lady finisher tonight is Barbara Herrera. So that's going to move Barbara up the overall, and then Fran Hayes, Barbara in 14th and Fran Hayes in 16th. So yeah, Barbara's going to move up the overall with that performance. I tell you who I didn't see tonight, and I thought she was riding. I thought Kate was riding tonight, and I must admit I haven't seen her name, or I haven't seen her on screen, so I suspect she hasn't ridden. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for the riding, mate. It's been really exciting, and you did a good ride tonight. I think you should be proud. That was a very well earned 4th place, mate. You kept Keith behind you, and he was closing, so yeah, well done. So this is the 23rd rider coming in, De Monk. I think that's the Belgian flag, isn't it? Yeah. And this is another one of the ladies. I don't know the first name, Dulce. Joe. Well done, Joe. Good ride. This is Chris Shackleton, 25th place. I've covered Chris quite a bit, and I think if it's the same Shackleton, yes, it is Chris. If it's the same Shackleton, Chris is a regular time trialist. I'm almost sure it's the same Shackleton, and I saw him a lot in the series. I covered the cycling time trial 10 mile series on the V718 out Hullway. Yeah, I really enjoyed that series, and Chris was a regular, week in, week out. And he's putting in a really good effort here, look. Going into the red. That so impresses me, folks, when riders can really dig deep at the end of a stage. You know, he's been cycling for an hour 22, and there's no need to do so. You know, he's only fighting for his own personal time here now. So it's really impressive to see a rider prepared to put in a big effort as they're coming into the finish. I like to see it. I think this is Stephen Hall. Well done, sir. I will learn this fellow's name. Team 3R. Like I say, I mentioned it earlier, Garb here. It's the one and only Team 3R rider in this tour that I've seen, and I am just gobsmacked by that statistic, given the quality of riders that they have, that they haven't taken part in the tour. But maybe they're busy doing other things. I mean, I've got some good friends in Team 3R, so I'm not knocking them at all, far from it. They must be busy doing other things. So what are we? We've got we got Elliot is this 3 kilometers? No, 5.3 kilometers to go. So yeah, we're going to be around a little while yet, folks, because I am going to wait for Elliot to come in. I'm not going to leave the stream. I'm sorry, Damon, if you I hope you're not wanting me to quit. In fact, I can see you've sent me a message, so I'll just fire up my messages now. Okay. Top graphic is always racially distant. Yeah, sorry, I missed that earlier, Damon. I apologise. I wasn't checking my messages. I was so caught up in the commentary. And Damon's just agreed with me. We're going to do it to the end, folks, which is fantastic. Thank you, Damon, for supporting us. That's brilliant. Yeah, I was so caught up in the action earlier on. I should really, because I have a separate screen, and I should really be checking messages coming in. And I never even looked at them. My eyes have been glued on the main screen all the time because I've just enjoyed it so much. And that says a lot, folks. That says a lot to the quality of the broadcast. And big shout out to Damon for doing this. You know, he's covering ZMS, and Damon Bates are covering the whole tour for us, us being OTR, except stage 9, and I'm going to step in on stage 9. And the only reason he can't do stage 9 is because he has another prior commitment. And I can't thank him enough for doing this and for allowing me. I mean, Proximus, he's just told me it's Proximus. But just thank you so much, Damon, for allowing me to do this, because I can honestly say this has been one of my most enjoyable evenings ever since I started e-racing, and I was in at the very, very beginning. So I can honestly say this has been one of the best evenings I've spent. Really, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to Friday. I'm back again, folks. Here's Paul, my teammate and the creator of these roads. I'll say that again. What a fantastic job, but yeah. And just look at that smile. Paul's always got a smile on his face, I'm told. So you can see from the picture there what a happy individual he is. If you go to his Facebook page, you can, yeah. So what, you're coming in 30th place, Paul? You can do better. Oh dear. And look, he's putting out, he must have heard me, because he's putting out above threshold effort now to finish. What a boy. Well done. Mind you, he does have Gil trying to chase him down, so that's probably why. Yeah. Good ride, sir. Well done. I think this is Robin, is it? Is it Robin Gill? Can you just pull up his name if you've got him? Robert. Yeah. Thought I recognised him. Rob Gill. And again, putting in a good effort to finish with. And I have to, and look at Mara, just look at this, 70 years old, coming to the line, and he's still fighting for that place. I mean, I hope he gets it. Come on, hold him off. No, sadly Gil just got him, the younger man got him. I mean, there's a huge difference in ages there between the two of them, but isn't that lovely to see, a 70-year-old at the end of like 1.5 hours of racing, sprinting for the line with a youngster. I mean, that's just, and here's Clive, but that's just fantastic to see. I love it. Just, it all adds to the atmosphere of the race, in my opinion. It's just, yeah, it's lovely to see. So last steep bit, sir, come on. This is another one of my colleagues from OTR. I think it's Clive by him. Well done. So what we got 2 more riders after we see Clive coming home. But Mr. Elliott is going to take a few more minutes to come in. This is another one of our ladies, Roz. And there you've got your top 20 on screen at the moment, as you can see. Yeah, Roz. Cadence is not showing for some reason. That seems a bit of a strange, but still putting in a nice effort. As she approaches the Flamme Rouge. So one more small climb, Rachel, and you're over. One of the things that's been really pleasing, and I mentioned it on yesterday's broadcast, which incidentally, during my feed, RGT crashed on me and I wasn't able to get back in. So most of you will only have seen the news section that I covered. No, sorry, that was today. Getting confused. But yeah, I couldn't cover the whole of the event had I been able to do today, but it crashed on me. But one of the things I mentioned in the news section was the take-up of ladies taking part in the tours, the different tours, and how it's increased on RGT. And I think that's because RGT is a very welcoming platform, far more so than the other one. I mean, they do get lots of ladies, but only because of the huge number of riders they've got. As a percentage, RGT outshines them in that department. And there we can see Elliot just, yeah. Another, what, how far has he got? Probably another 12 minutes of pain. I'm sorry to say, Elliot. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Paul. Like I said earlier, I've really enjoyed this, and it's all thanks to your roads, mate. So can't wait to see what you've got to come up with when we do the Dubai stint for Chris O'Hearn. I'm sure they'll be pretty special. But more about that in my news section. I'm not going to mention too much about them here in this feed. But Chris O'Hearn is running a Dubai race series for us. And Paul's going to be doing the roads. So there's a teaser for you. More about that in our news sections. So this is Rachel coming into the finish, and then we've just got is it Steve Elliott behind, Stephen or Steve Elliott behind, 4 kilometers. So about, what we got, about 12 minutes I would say. So we're looking at 1:45 finish, 1 hour 45 total time, I think, give or take. And here we go. And have we got Elliot's? And there we go. You can see on screen Damon is pulling up for us tomorrow's stage. Or is this? No, this is today. Sorry, Stephen. I thought it was Stephen. Yeah. So Stephen Elliott. Wow. I think Stephen's a vet. I could be wrong. I think he's a vet. But look at that cadence. That's not bad for this stage. But he's obviously suffering here at the back. Lantern Rouge. It's not a nice place to be, but somebody has to be there. And what's important here to remember, folks, is that this lad, you know, he's like going to finish 45 minutes behind the leaders, yet he still sticks it out, still keeps cranking out those kilometers, and I just have so much admiration for riders when they do this. I mean, I've done it myself. I've climbed off. When I've been in this position, and during my illness, I certainly was in this position quite a lot. When I first broke my hip, I was taking part in events and I just couldn't physically stand the pain anymore. And I'd climb off, but then I'd think afterwards, I'd think, oh, what a wimp. You've got riders like this who, you know, just stick it out right to the very end. And this is one of the reasons why I stick with the broadcasts right till the very end, because I honestly believe that if a rider is prepared to put in this kind of effort, then the commentators should put in the effort too. And that's just a personal thing. I know some of other commentators feel the same way, so it's not just me. I mean, and yes, there are times when I have to end the broadcast early. I have 2 small children and I usually have to go and pick them up from school or do something with them. So I can't always hang around until the end of the broadcast. And in fact, was it day before yesterday, I had to shoot away before the end of the broadcast. But when I can, I certainly do try and stick with it to the very end for this reason and this reason alone, and that's, I believe the riders deserve it. They've earned it. So we've probably got about another 9, 10, 11 minutes. I mean, he's suffering and he's still got a lot of climbing to go. So now, what about the graphic on the bottom of the screen where it's showing the dots? Has that, what can happen sometimes, folks, is you can see the white dots on the screen. I think it's just refreshed now. Yeah, so Damon's obviously listening to me, and what he's probably done is he's probably refreshed it because it can lock up. It was pretty bad in the previous version of RGT, and they fixed it more or less. I haven't had the issue once since the latest version came out, but prior to that I used to have to refresh the screen, and not refresh the screen, I used to have to turn on and off the profile at least 4 or 5 times every feed, every single stream, because it would just lock up. But it does seem to, I mean, and some people just ignore it. Some people don't even notice that it's not working. But I tend to use it a lot. I tend to use it to gauge, especially if I'm tabbing down in my commentary and I'm tabbing down the field and sort of like showing the riders in the middle, the riders at the back of the field, but I still want to keep an eye on what's happening at the front. So I use the white dots as a real good guide. And if I see a gap appearing while I'm watching riders further down the field, if I see a gap appearing between the white dots towards the front, then I immediately switch the action back to the front to cover that, because you wouldn't want to miss somebody, you know, somebody making a break. I mean, sometimes you do, and it's a little bit unfortunate while you're covering lower down the field, but most of the time, if you actually use this feature, and I think it's a very good feature with RGT, being able to see a visual representation of where the riders are, gives you a good indication of how to follow the race. And a smart commentator will sort of like realize, oh, there's some action kicking off. And it doesn't have to be at the front either. You can watch the white dots and you can see like a large group of white dots all together, and then all of a sudden you can see one of those large group of white dots distancing the rest. So then you switch to the action, and more often than not you'll find that, yeah, it's a rider trying to get away from the group, and the group are chasing him, and that can lead to some quite exciting commentary. So it's something that you shouldn't miss. You should always be keeping an eye on not just the action that you're covering at the time and the view that you've got on the time, but you should really be watching what's happening elsewhere by means of any clues you can be given. Sometimes it can be the rider list. You can see on the rider list if you know, if you're watching, shall we say, somebody in 8th or 7th or 8th place, and then all of a sudden somebody like in 2nd or 3rd or even 1st place, the figures suddenly start to go red, deep red, then you can switch to that action because you know somebody's putting in a dig. And these are all visual clues that you look for. It took me a while to twig to learn this, but I've now been doing this, I think, long enough to have got some of the nuances. I mean, I still make a lot of mistakes, but in reality, it's still early days for me. I haven't been doing this that long, but I think I've learned a lot in the time I've been doing it, and hopefully my experience will grow. I'm really looking forward to Friday, Damon. I'm looking forward to coming back and repeating this. I don't know how long the stage is. My memory doesn't hold that well that I did look, but I can't remember how long the stage is on Friday. So as soon as we go offline, that's the first thing I'm going to be doing, as well as checking on those riders I mentioned earlier. My job, folks, does not end when this stream ends. Believe me, and I know Damon's doesn't. Damon starts to prepare for tomorrow as soon as this feed finishes. You told me that earlier. And my work, yeah, a lot of it I do in the morning after I've dropped the girls off to school. I will admit, I don't do too much tonight, but I will. I will do a little bit of work, just catching up on a few things, and then tomorrow morning, I have to prepare for the news broadcast on my own stream. For those of you that haven't seen it, please check out my YouTube channel. Just type in Derek Bulcock in YouTube, go to my YouTube channel, and you'll see that we have a news section for this tour and for OTR. And also on that news section, we call out, you know, if any of the other teams give us details, we call out their events and races as well. And we've done that with Rasio Racing and SDW and a few others. So if you've got anything for us, just fire it over to James, Ogilvy, Paul, Nichols or myself, and we'll be happy to include it in our news featurette, which we have before the start of these tours. And there's Stephen again showing you his figures. So what we got? We got 2.8 kilometers to go. So if you reckon on roughly 3 minutes, 3 minutes per kilometer, sometimes it's a little bit more, but give or take 3 minutes per kilometer. So what we're looking at? We're looking at another possible 152, give or take. Right, let's see. I've got a message from Damon. Okay, I won't repeat that on air, Damon. Yeah, can we look at tomorrow's map while we're watching Stephen? That's a good idea, Damon. Let's have a look and show the folks, those that are still stuck with us. Okay, so tomorrow's stage, and this is the hardest stage of the tour. Hard on to Anzia. My French is never very good, so I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but yeah, this is tomorrow's stage, and just look at that. I mean, it's brutal. Look at it. It just goes on forever. Oh, how long is that? Pull up the stats. Come on, get me the stats on screen, Damon. I don't just want to see the real live. I want to see the stats. He will do. He'll get it on screen for me. No, he doesn't have them. Okay, folks. Well, you're going to have to go to the rider handbook then. Now, if this was on my live stream, I'd be pulling these up because I do have them, but sadly I can't do that. So, yeah. 44 kilometers. So that's twice. I mean, think about this, folks. You know, the lead is okay. The lead is finished today's stage in an hour, and so tomorrow 2 hours. But look at this, we're still going 1 hour 45 into the stage, and we're still going. And Stephen, you know, all right, he's the last rider on the road, but many of the other riders were 1 hour and 30 minutes. So what's going to happen tomorrow? You know, we're looking at 3 hours for a lot of the riders. Now that's a long time to be in the saddle, because the majority of it is climbing. You've just seen from the graphic we've just shown on screen, the majority of tomorrow's stage is climbing. I mean, it's going to really sort out the general classification. I don't know. I will do some research and have a look, and I'm not commentating tomorrow. I'm going to sit back and watch ZMS's coverage, and looking forward to it actually. It's 1,984 meters, so that's a lot of climbing. 6% average, but just looking, I'm pretty good at working out the real live graphics, and I can tell you there's some very, very steep sections in tomorrow's climbing. So Brad Sona is commentating tomorrow. It's starting at 6:40. So I'll definitely be, there we go, it's showing you the graphic on screen again. And there are some very, very steep sections. I mean, this is just... Here. So it's one of these, you could see that last section there, just look how that kicks up. And that's very close to the finish, so it's going to be another one of these where it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see a 10% plus within that last kilometre towards the finish. That would not surprise me at all. I mean, look, we've got 2.3 kilometres and this poor soul is doing 10% here. So, Paul Nichols, you're a cruel man. Brilliant man, but a cruel man. Yeah, I get a day off tomorrow. I don't know, folks, for those that are still watching, I don't know if I can do my news section for OTR tomorrow. We have workmen coming in to replace the boiler, and I'm sat in the boiler room as we speak. It's my studio, so our water boiler is in my attic, which is my studio. I actually keep thinking I'm going to send Riley and Mike Lister a picture of my setup. So I'll let them do the work in the replace the boiler first, and then I'll take some pictures and show you my studio, which I'm quite proud of now. It looks pretty nifty. But yeah, because they're coming in and replacing the boiler, I don't think I'm going to be able to do a broadcast tomorrow, unless I can sort of like do something from my laptop. I might do a news section from my laptop if I can, but if it's too much work, I'm just going to sit back and watch the ZMS live stream and enjoy it, because I think tomorrow is going to be epic. And then I'm back on Friday. Haven't looked at what I'm facing, but if tonight's anything to go by, I'm really looking forward to it. So come on, Stephen, 2 kilometres to go, lad. Oh, he must be saying to himself, what on earth, another 10%? Yeah, his legs will be screaming. 11% even. Wait, is it going to... 12%. It just gets worse. It's starting to ease down a little bit now. He's got a bit of respite before he starts the next section. Not much. It kicks up again, that tree line that you can see. There we go, kicking up again. I can actually feel this because I've done it so much. Yeah. But another tidbit of information for you, as well as I mean, it's a while since I've done anything decent ride wise, but when I first started out on the Swift platform, I was just coming off the back of cycling around the world. I cycled around the world because I had cancer, and I won't tell you the whole story, but basically I had cancer and decided to cycle around the world. And when I got back, I was pretty ill, and I couldn't even keep up with my my wife on the cycle paths here in the Netherlands. So I joined a local cycling club, and I was the last man on the rides for a long time. But eventually, they never left me behind. They never ever left me behind on the group rides. And eventually I started working on my fitness. Eventually I decided that, yeah, I could start training properly. So I started training, and in order to do that, I bought myself an indoor trainer, and I got onto Swift. And like I say, I was one of the early adopters back then. And I got onto Swift, and like within a year, I got my fitness back. And I broke the Swift distance record, and was very close to breaking the world indoor cycling record on a trainer. And I went to the, this is in 2016, I went to the European Bike Show here in the Netherlands, and I cycled for charity 1,600 kilometers in 52 hours, which was absolutely insane. So basically 4 days cycling. And there's a video. There's a video of it, so I got the proof. But it was in a huge arena, the European Bike Show, and round about that time, I was probably, as far as indoor cycling goes, I was probably at my peak, because endurance cycling wasn't really a thing then. Not many people were doing the ultra distances that I was doing. So we had like 24-hour time trials starting up, and I think for 3 years I held the record for the 24 hours. For 12 hours I held the record for a short time. But then Chris Hopkinson came over onto the platform, and Chris Hopkinson, Hoppo, for those of you that know him, for those of you that don't, I'll tell you, that man is a legend. He's an ultra endurance cyclist. He's done RAM, Race Across America, and he's a good friend. And I couldn't have chosen a better man to take the indoor distance record away from me. And then a German girl, and you'll have to forgive me, lass, but I cannot remember your name. Muller, I can't remember her first name. Muller. Anyway, it's gone. But Muller, a German girl, then took the record from both of us, and Chris said, I'm having none of that. And then so he went out, trained, and smashed it by a long way, and it's still held. I can't remember what it is, but Chris now holds the record for indoor cycling, and because he's a good friend, I don't mind. But yeah, I held it for a good length of time, so I know all about endurance on these platforms, and you know how to time your effort, how to dig deep. I mean, I'll be honest, I used to do 48-hour rides on Swift for fun, and think nothing of it. It was easy, because it's when you get to that kind of time and that kind of distance, it's not about the cycling, it's all about what's in your head. And I've always been mentally strong. I mean, I was told as a 14-and-a-half-year-old kid that I would never run again because of my cancer. I had bone cancer in my leg, and they in fact wanted to take off my leg, and then my mother stopped them, and but I was told I would never run again. And a year later, I ran my first marathon for charity around Huddersfield Sports Centre's sports track. And ever since then, that's what I've been like. The doctors have said, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I've said, bollocks, I can, and I have. And I take that attitude now into life with me, which is why I'm still around. I mean, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2005 again, and it spread, and I was in a pretty bad way. I lost my wife to cancer in 2009, lost my mother, lost my sister, lost my brother. So yeah, I've been there, but I'm tough. And the friends that know me will tell you I'm tough. I don't give in easily. So for me, endurance cycling was a perfect fit, because I could stand the pain and I could stand the boredom. It wasn't an issue. And I remember during my training phase, I was taking club riders out on endurance rides, and like after 200 kilometers. They were totally stuffed. And don't forget, these were the fastest riders in the club, and I was taking them on 200 kilometer rides, and not only keeping pace with them, but then when they wanted to go home, you know, I was maintaining that pace for like the next 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. So yeah, I've been there. I've been at the top in my chosen, you know, in my chosen field. But if you are interested in ultra endurance cycling, in staying on the bike like for, you know, more than just a couple of hours that you see these cyclists doing, check it out. You know, there's some fantastic riders that are riding on the what's the word, on the e-cycling side of it rather than real life. There's some fantastic riders like Hoppo that are absolutely putting in absolutely stupid rides for fun, and it's just another aspect of the sport. It's not for everybody. There's a guy called Ross over at Team 3R who does these silly kind of things. I think he did something like 4 Everests in a row. It might even have been more, but Everest is where you climb the height of Mount Everest, and he did 4 in a row that I know of. Might have even been more, it might have been 5, but yeah, he definitely did 4. So can you imagine climbing 8,848 meters 4 times? It just doesn't bear thinking about. Anyway, as I'm wittering away, you can see that good old Stephen has now only got 100 meters to go. Fantastic effort, Stephen, and I'm actually going to give you a good round of applause, mate, because this is just fantastic. I really think, come on. Now, Chris did a cowbell last night, but I'm doing a clap, because this guy deserves a clap. Well done. Over the line. And that, folks, is the end of the broadcast. Oh, I've just seen a message from Damon. Damon says he streamed a few Hoppo epic events. So Damon knows about Hoppo. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, Damon. Very good friend of mine. Say hello to him for me next time you speak with him. Anyway, that's it for tonight, folks. We're going to go offline now. We both want a cup of, well, I want a cup of coffee, and I assume Damon does. So, and I'm busy hard at it in the morning. Damon's got some work to do this evening. So, thanks a lot for watching. Here's another look at tomorrow's stage, which is absolutely going to be epic. 44 kilometers, folks. And a lot of the riders are going to be on the bike 3 hours for this. Yes, the winners will be around the 2 hour mark or under, but the rest of the field, I reckon it's going to be about a 3 hour ride tomorrow. And this is just epic. Unbelievable. Look at that. And look at that sharp kick up just in that last kilometre. That's going to hurt. Unbelievable. Okay, that's us. It's a wrap. Stay safe, everybody, and please support Damon by logging on to his feeds, and if you can leave a comment, that would be lovely. But we'll be back tomorrow night. Well, Damon and his team will be back tomorrow night.